Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Brad, Sean, Brian text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Couple 13-14 pass, common tend to be, and the legendary Mark Rosen joins us here on a Wing It Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon to you.
I went back to discuss something with Chad Abbott, and I saw you there having your lunch. You had a little sandwich. And,
yeah, I did.
Did some recording work here before you got in a little early today. And
all done.
And
thanks
you're all
to Mr.
done.
Abbott.
And now you're here for, and it's funny, it's interesting, Teneby. When I ask, when Rosen needs some help in the production studio, Abbott can't run fast enough down to the studio. When I ask, he says, learn how to run the equipment yourself.
Huh.
All I ask is, it's just like, there are, and I know there's pecking orders and all that, but still on things like that, it's like, no, treat everyone equal. Why do there have to be different rules for different?
Well, this was a little more sophisticated. They had recorded it on an MP3, and it wasn't just a regular recording, and et cetera, et cetera.
There's no, you can't fool me.
That's no different than what Common's talking about.
Yeah, there's no difference.
I was trying to fool him.
Yeah, well, you can't fool me because I understand. I've been in the business for 40 years.
Yeah. Anyway.
And and again, it's just the rules are different for different people, and so
I asked nicely.
I do too.
You're supposed to ask your sales accountant.
Well, this wasn't a sales thing. This was for a special event coming up, the World Junior Hockey Tournament.
Yeah, the hockey guy over here.
And they got you to do it.
Yeah, they should have got. But he's the legendary one. Why wouldn't they have him do it?
I have no comment. Just do
what you are.
Yeah, do what I can.
You're unbelievable. When I write that book, the things I can tell
you
about
already wrote a book.
I mean, when I write the book about the tell-all about this radio station.
What's to say about it? You let everybody know on the air every day about me.
There are things that I've kept to myself over the years about everybody at this radio show. I mean,
so it would be a tell-all about
everybody.
Well, there would be, I wrote the CCO book, and I didn't really get, there are chapters that I think I've made public, I've talked about, that I had to leave out because the attorneys at CBS at that time said, oh, no, you're not letting that in the book. And I still have copies of what I wrote about.
Do you want to bring them in next week and read them on the air when you come back from vacation? Let's read some of those on the air. Let's stir things up. I'm not on
vacation next week.
Yeah, let's stir things up.
I could.
Why don't you give us a nugget right now?
Well,
what dirt do you have on somebody over at CCO? Why don't you give us some dirt?
Well, it had to do with the GM and the news director that they hired, that they brought in.
They tried to force you out.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Well, they did force a few people out, like the late great Bill Carlson, and
how do you force Bill Carlson?
I don't know. He was doing the noon show. He loved doing the noon news forever and ever and ever. I mean, Bill was just a trooper. He was did the midday show and did been there since he was a page in the old days.
A pro's pro too. Really
he did everything. Obviously, the entertainment business and everything he did. I love being around Bill. But I guess they wanted to get younger or something, so they brought in a new brash looking, typical anchor looking guy, and Bill was off the air for a while, and they brought him back. They took Amelia off the air when she was pregnant with her twins.
Oh, come on!
No, they did, and I don't know the particulars about how that all got settled, but it got settled. Which is, of course, illegal. You can't do that. That was one of the things. And then the news director hired a sports person without my knowledge.
I thought he was great. I thought she was great.
Did you?
I thought she did a terrific job. No offense, and we've been friends for a long time, I thought, this is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was. Breath of fresh air, all right. Nothing against her.
No.
It was like being called up from single A to the majors with having 3 at-bats.
Well, at least she spent some time in the minors. You didn't.
Well, I didn't.
You didn't.
Well, I spent my time in the minors learning my trade at CCO. I mean, I did everything there. Behind the scenes, long before I went on the air.
You didn't empty the ashtrays and sweep the floor because that's what I did.
That was your job.
That was my job when I was there. So don't say you did everything.
Well, I emptied a lot of coffee grinds. I think I did that. But anyway, so there was a story I did write about what had happened with everybody. I mean, they basically wanted all of us to hit the bricks, as they say. And I wrote about it, and I knew it probably wasn't going to pass the mustard, as they said, and sure enough, the attorneys got involved and said, "No, you got to rip that part up." So I did.
So they tore it out.
Yeah,
they were afraid.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't want the truth and nothing but. But I understand that. I was still employed. Now, if I had written that book now, then I'd be free obviously to write it because CBS can't touch me now. So. I would have done that, but I don't really feel like going down that road again, and I don't even know if many people. Well, I'm sure a lot of people who were around long enough remember certain situations that went on. It was a lot more than about how it affected our department. It was basically entire news operation,
right?
But that was it. That's the controversial stuff that I wrote.
Yeah, I'd like to hear. I'd like to.
There's some good stories.
Good. Well, we'll get into them one of these days.
Yeah,
sure.
NBA.
This is great. This is another one of those. I roll my eyes, I shrug my shoulders and shake my head. It started with, did the NHL, were they the first of the major men's four to say, we got to change our all-star format? Because these guys aren't really playing. They're not checking. Yeah. Then the NFL said, this ain't working. None of these guys want to play a real serious game. And even though they're in Honolulu,
they don't want the trip to Hawaii anymore. They
don't want to go through the chance of getting hurt and this, that. Right. And then the NBA, it's, last year was 218 to 202 or something like that. So they actually have to change the rules of the game, and that's what they're doing in the NBA now. They're going to do, I don't even know if I understand it. It's mini tournament featuring four teams, 3 teams of NBA All-Stars, plus the winner of the annual Rising Stars Challenge. There will be honorary general managers will be Chuck, Kenny the Jet, and Shaq Diesel O'Neal. And they'll be the captains of the honorary general managers of the 3 teams of the NBA All-Stars and will be responsible for drafting their 8-player rosters. And each team of NBA All-Stars will have 8 players. There will be a total of 24 NBA All-Stars. The tournament format, 2 teams will meet in one semifinal, game 1. The remaining 2 teams will meet in the other semifinal, game 2. The winning teams from game 1 and game 2 will be in the championship game.
God, I'm running dizzy.
For each game, the winner will be the first team to reach or surpass 40 points. So in other words, they're thinking, well, if they only have to go to 40, maybe they'll actually try and break a sweat, right? And they'll actually play defense. They also have to pay them. Because it's not like they're making enough. They have to pay the winning players, get like $1.25. Right. Not 1 point. Not 1.2, but $125,000. They have all these. It's like, but it's all 3 of those sports. Why couldn't the players just say, well, it's an all-star game and the people want us to be here, and so let's play real hockey. Let's throw some checks out there. I mean, you don't have to try to slam someone into the boards to destroy them.
Drop the gloves.
Or drop the gloves or anything like that. In basketball, can't you break a sweat and play a little defense and try hard? And in football, I kind of understand because you'd hate to tear your, do an MCL, ACL, MC hammer, whatever it is, tearing out your knee in a scrimmage game, but it just seems. But that's what they're going to do. They're changing the way the NBA.
I saw Kevin Durant commented on it, and he goes, "This stinks. I would rather go back to the old East against West. As high scoring and as non-defensive game it was, the last couple minutes of the game, they would normally try, and after putting on a show, it's sort of like." Watching when the Harlem Globetrotters were in their heyday, you go out and watch the theatrics of what they did. And if you want to approach it that way and then maybe take it seriously the last couple minutes of the game because there's more of an incentive to try to, for pride or something to win. But this stuff is just... But
see, I would rather at least... here's what I'm saying. They shouldn't have to connoiter, if that's the right word, the way they do it. The players should just have enough pride to play hard. But I don't want to go back to the old. As a fan, I know the All-Star game, you go, cool, the best players in the league. But if the best players in the league aren't trying, then I don't care. I'd rather watch the second best players in the league. The backups to these guys really play hard. It just makes no sense to me. You're an all-star. You're supposed to here's why I'm an all-star. Here are the things I do. But apparently they don't do it.
The entire all-star weekend has turned into, we recall when, the slam dunk contest was really something. Michael Jordan, they had the big names that would do it.
Right.
Most of the times now, the bigger names just don't bother showing up. They just take a hard pass. I don't think Anthony Edwards is going to sign up for that this year. And so, you have to figure out something. The only all-star game that's played, of course, like the regular game is Major League Baseball. You have...
Yeah, we talked about that because that's if you're in right field and a fly ball comes out at you, you're not going to just go, well, I just kind of... I'll let that one go by. I'm out here. I may as well go catch it. And if you're at the plate, you don't want to be embarrassed by the pitcher. You're going to go, okay, throw your best. I'll hit it. If you're the pitcher, you don't want four guys getting home runs. Baseball, the way the game is played, I guess, is just more conducive to an all-star game. The other ones, the players just aren't willing to put forth the effort that they do in regular season games. And so they'll try whether this helps the NBA All-Star. I think I think it will because the NFL, whatever you want to say about it, I think most people would rather watch them play flag football and do some of those skill things than just watch guys. The offensive lineman and defensive lineman, when they're blocking and the guy trying to get around, they're just talking to each other and go, why are we even here? I'm going to make it look like I'm really trying to block you. It just makes no sense.
I've heard stories about practicing for the game, and it's laughable. They come from the Waikiki Beach to go out to the practice session.
We'll pause. We'll come back. We got more to get to with Mark Rosen. It's Common Teneby and the legendary one here in the Fan.
Head over to NFLShop.com for the largest collection of officially licensed gear from all your favorite brands. NFL Shop is your ultimate gifting destination for jerseys, t-shirts, headwear, and more. Take your game day style to the next level with the best selection of NFL gear anywhere. Show off your team pride this holiday season with styles fit for the whole family. To shop now, go to NFLShop.com.
Mark Rosen's appearance on the program is brought to you by your Greater Twin City Honda dealers.
13-14 past, Common Man program. I'm Common. He is 10. Did you need to read a...
Yeah, I need to vibe, if that's okay.
I apologize.
Join Corey Cove tonight at Shakopee Bowl in Shakopee from 6:30 to 8:30 for Coors Light Hockey Night. Watch Minnesota play Florida and play trivia for your chance to win a pair of sweet tickets to the hockey game on January 9th. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
And where is that?
Shakopee Bowl.
Will you be at Shakopee Bowl and joining Corey Cove tonight? Hey, you haven't seen him in a while. Why not? Watch the Wild with him.
Watch it at home.
Well, if you're going to watch it at home, is the TV in the bakery department or frozen foods over at Kowalski's? Because that's your home
away
from
that commercial.
It's your home away from home.
Well,
you said I practically
but thank
live there.
Thank you for listening to my commercials. Thank you. And I do enjoy going to Kowalski's.
How can you not listen when you basically say, I practically live at Kowalski's?
Well, it's a stretch, but it's okay.
It worked. It got me to think of Kowalski's.
You believe that I'm
and I went to that Kowalski's and looked for that television set. I didn't find it in the bakery department, in the meat department, or in the frozen food section.
You got to know where to look.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Wild tonight, they play Florida, the defending NHL champions.
Right.
And we've got, is it 5 guys out for sure? Regulars. Eck's still out. Gus is out.
Eck, Gus, Middleton, Laco, and Trenyon.
They're all out.
It's like the version of the Detroit Lions.
That's exactly what I said.
Two of those guys are kind of like fourth.
Yeah, they are.
Fourth liners, so those are more replaceable.
Right, right.
But
Erickson, Eck, that's very challenging to replace. And Middleton's had a phenomenal year up until this injury.
It's nothing short-term.
Breakout year.
Anything?
No, it's long-term with Middleton.
I know Florida.
I think it's a hand injury.
What about Eck?
He resumed skating today, so that's a good sign.
He could be back soon.
That's good.
Is Florida, I know they're the defending champs. Did they pick up where they left off? Are they one of the better teams, or how are they playing?
I thought I saw they were 7th best record overall in the National Hockey League.
Right.
So I'm assuming top 3, top 4 in the East.
Yeah. So they're right there. So it should be a good one. That's
Wild beat them earlier in the year in Florida and had a pretty convincing victory there.
Maybe their best game of the season, would you say, or not necessarily?
It's hard to remember every single game, but I think that was one of the better ones.
Well.
Yeah, they're 19-11-2, so they got 40 points.
Yeah, and I know it's a little, I'm not saying aggravating, but late starts doesn't always fit with people's lifestyles. But it shows you that the Wild are getting the kind of attention
that's the
now.
thing. You got to, if you want the team to be really, really good and get national attention, then you have to stay up every once in a while.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
No,
but it's good that they are getting, especially. I'm only saying early in the season. It's still relatively early. Obviously, after the first of the year, things kind of ramp up a little bit more, but. It is encouraging, and that's the best thing of all. Whether they finish first, second, third, whatever it is, I don't see them going away. They're a pretty damn consistent team right now.
Tim Bontemps writes for ESPN. He's a senior writer with the Worldwide Leader. He had a piece today, the 17th, so it would have been today, right? Is it? No, yesterday. No, what's the date today?
Today's the
18th.
18th, yeah.
Yeah, okay, 18th. So yesterday he had a piece late last night. Dateline Las Vegas, it says, with the Boston Celtics on pace to shatter the NBA's record for three-pointers attempted by a team, and with threes being up across the league this season, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said Tuesday night the league is studying the trend. He also said criticisms of offenses becoming cookie cutter and that teams are copying each other is something he thinks the league should take seriously. He says, quote, the answer is yes, we're having many discussions about the style of basketball being played. I would not reduce it to a so-called three-point shooting issue. I think we look more holistically at the skill level on the floor, the diversity of offense, in fan reception of the game, all of the above. I think the game is in a great place. I love watching the games. I think we have some of the most skilled athletes in the world competing, and it's unfair, I think, to the players to lump them into categories as three-point shooters, a mid-range shooter, a big man playing under the basket. It's an amazing game. Having said that, we're constantly having discussions about whether there are ways to improve stylistically the game on the floor. And, Tenneby and I talked about this. We were just talking about the other day because there was within like a two-night span, the attempted three-pointers, the records were shattered, made this. And it seems like most teams, not all, I mean, there's still some, but it's kind of developed into it's either, is it called posterizing somebody?
Yeah, yes.
You're either posterizing somebody or
Under
knocking down along a logo three. And, again, basketball, I'm not part of the basketball community or the hockey community. I kind of live on the fringes of those two sports. So maybe the majority, maybe they should do a poll. Are NBA fans delighted with the game as way it is right now and leave it alone? Or would you say too much emphasis is put on the three and it's just turned into a three-point shooting contest? And oftentimes guys are left just wide open for threes. And a lot of that's because they work the ball around enough to get wide open. But stylistically, it does change the way, there's, I think, Tenneby sent me, Dickie Vitale said, smart move by Silver. It's been used too much, the three. It takes away passing, cutting, and the fundamentals of the game. And it does the fundamentals of the game the way it used to be when it was a two-point game. And I'm not suggesting let's go back to the olden days and have everybody wear really short shorts and Chuck Taylor sneakers and take the shot clock out and all those kinds of things. But I do think after a while, just, jacking up. I remember when Pete first started playing basketball, every single kid in travel basketball, 4th and 6th, they get on the floor. What do? None of them worked on a layup drill or wanted to or shoot free throws. They all wanted to just jack up threes. And it's like, I don't know what they can do about it, though, because you can't take the three-point basket away.
No.
You can, and if you move it back, that's not going to discourage anybody, I don't think. And that's why I have it. If you move it back 3 feet, well, no one's going to take one at all. And then you basically turned it back into only a 2-point bucket. But even if you move it back another 6 or 8 inches or whatever, that's not going to stop the guys from taking threes, I don't think.
No, I don't either. And you don't even have to go that far back when you thought the game was different. I mean, if you remember even the Celtics teams of old with McHale and Bird and Parrish, the three-point shot existed then, but yet there was much more of a art of the game and the beauty of the game, and as rough neck as it went. And even then, they didn't call. The thing that bothers me a lot is the number of foul shots we see and free throws that we see, because I think they're so concerned about, is that a flagrant one? And whatever. I'm going, go back and look at some of the tape of some of the games that were played. I'm not suggesting we turn it into the brawl they had in Detroit, but or McHale and Kurt Rambis and the rest. But they used to let them get away with a lot more, and it didn't hurt the game. It wasn't like it turned into like a hockey game where you drop the gloves and going at it. I just think that there's too much of a free throw shooting contest as well as a 3-point shooting contest, and that's why I think there are certain players that do stand out that have that overall game. They're kind of old school. The Joker's that way. I mean, he's got such a great all around game. And he can do it all, and there are very few players that kind of stand out that way, that have those skill sets that our guy Ant can do a lot of things really, really well. Obviously, he's a lot more than a 3-point shooter. His strength of getting to the basket, and I'd much rather see him from an artistic standpoint not end up necessarily with a slam dunk. We've all seen enough the last 10 lifetimes. But just getting to the basket, maneuvering his body around, and laying it in or whatever he does, that to me is a lot more artistic than watching the guy with another slam dunk, which produces a yawn.
We talked about this yesterday. There's also discussion now in the NBA about, because there was a story from about a week ago, a couple of days ago. We talked about it, where there was the end of one game. It was there were 17 fouls called, and it was like in the last 34 seconds of the game. I'm exaggerating, I think, but point was the last few seconds of the game took forever to play, and so now they're thinking that they're revisiting that idea that once there's 4 minutes to go to the game, you add, like if one team's winning 104 to 100, you say first to 111, 7 points. So now you're not going to see hacking and fouling. Right. You're going to see players, at least in theory. I don't know. They'll probably find ways around that. But in theory, it would be like, well, we don't want to send anybody to the line at this point anymore. So we're going to take some shots and play some defense, and then you don't have to worry about those, because many of the games, as we know, we've come to accept it. Foul, take a couple of free throws. Right. Foul, take a couple of free throws. Foul, this, that, and that. And so there's some discussion about that.
I'd like to see that discussion lead to some productive results, because I think that's the part that I think they're watching a game, and in the 2 minutes, it's like there used to be a joke about there's 2 minutes left in an NFL game and it would take 25 minutes. Well, it gets that way in the NBA right now because of the fall, because of exactly the scenario you laid out. It becomes painful at times.
Your Vikings club will travel to Seattle.
Yes, they will.
The Windy City, as we call it. We'll talk about that next. Common Man program on the Fan. Oh, and why don't we do this? Let's do a giveaway. It's a Wild Wednesday, sponsored by Jim Beam, the official bourbon in Minnesota Wild. We've got tickets to tonight's game, the late start. Be the 11th caller at 1-800-320-5326. 1-800-320-5326. You win a pair of tickets to see the Wild take on the Panthers. Call right now. Star Wars night tonight. Call and you'll be a winner from all of us here at the Fan.
Head over to NFLShop.com for the largest collection of officially licensed gear from all your favorite brands. NFL Shop is your ultimate gifting destination for jerseys, t-shirts, headwear, and more. Take your game day style to the next level with the best selection of NFL gear anywhere. Show off your team pride this holiday season with styles fit for the whole family. To shop now, go to NFLShop.com.
Tune in to Wild Wednesday each week for your chance to win tickets to see your Minnesota Wild in an upcoming game. Wild Wednesdays are presented by Jim Beam, a crowd pleaser since 1795.
Last segment of the Grum today. Tomorrow it will be the Spread Swing. That'll begin at 2:30. Deuce will join us live from Lincoln. I'm Comedy's Teneby. He's the legendary Mark Rose, and the soon-to-be Big Game World Champion Minnesota Vikings travel to the city by the Bay. They'll take on the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Howell might be the quarterback. I don't think so. What they're saying is Geno Smith will probably start.
Yeah, I hope so.
Sam, filled in for relief against Green Bay, and he struggled to say the least. Something like 5 of 14 for something like 24 yards, and I think he had 1 interception. Pressured on 10 of his 19 dropbacks, and sacked 4 times. Hard for any kid when you're under that kind of pressure. Though if the Vikings got a hold of Howell, I'm sure KOC could turn him into a Sam Darnold-like reincarnation.
I don't know about that.
O'Neal looks like he'll play. Then he was banged up. He left the game twice, but looks like he's fine. And then Gilmore, is he?
We don't know. We haven't got the first
right?
injury report of the week, but those hamstrings are really tricky, and I know they miss Ivan Pace. I know when he's scheduled to come off, I know he's got the 4-week IR, but that the Vikings have been overall though pretty fortunate. I mean, when you saw O'Neal go down and you realized the impact it had immediately when he left the field, it's like, oh boy. And for him to come back even that game, I think all of us were surprised because that usually necessitates being a little extra cautious. But they got him back out there. So yeah, it's as we know, it's a big help when you're coming down the stretch here to just keep your regulars as healthy as possible. Seattle's been a weird team. They've been a better road team than a home team. They're 3-5 at home. They're obviously in the thick of it with in the NFC West, tied with the Rams at 8-6. So. Big game for them, a home game for them, and
it doesn't get much bigger than that.
Well, I mean, they played and got throttled by the Packers last week at home, and they were really never in it from the get-go. So I'm sure they're trying to lick their wounds and come back out, and I'm sure they'll give the Vikings. It won't be the Vikings were 3-point favorites. I mean, it'll be one of those games again. Geno hasn't had a great year. I wouldn't characterize it, but he's certainly leaps and bounds ahead of Sam Howell. Defense is good, not great. I wouldn't, but it's Seattle. The Vikings. A lot of weird things have happened to the Vikings over the years out there.
Matter.
No, I know it doesn't matter. I mean, you can say the same thing about the Packers.
All I know is the last time we played Seattle, we beat them.
Yeah, and that's they should win this game. I mean, they should.
You're picking them to win, aren't you?
Yes.
Are you picking them in spread swing?
I don't know. Probably not. But it probably. I mean, were they 3-point favorites? I mean, that's.
If they lose to Seattle, are you done with this club?
No, absolutely not.
I think I'll be. If they lose to Seattle, I think I'll abandon them.
They're not playing, Carolina. They're playing.
I don't care. They need this game. It doesn't matter.
Well, so does Seattle.
We're 12-2. We're fighting for the NFC North and for home field advantage throughout.
They don't have to. The word out
this
there.
This isn't a game you lose.
No, they are solely concentrating. I mean, that's the one thing I've been really impressed with the way they approach it. I know it's an old cliche, but. They're not staring at the standings. They're not staring at all the possibilities.
They are.
Well, they understand what's at stake because when the Lions lost, the Vikings won the other night. You now are in control. You have an opportunity, and we talked about it yesterday. When I was out at TCO, an opportunity that it took them weeks and weeks and weeks to get to. Finally catching up to Detroit after the Lions beat them here to kind of control what. Coming down the home stretch of these final 3 games to not only win the NFC North, as you mentioned, and get home field and getting a bye in the first week, which is so big. Doesn't always mean you're going to go to the big game, or get the NFC Championship game, but you play and win one game at home. And I'll tell you, I'd much rather. You asked me yesterday which team or the day before, I can't remember which team I fear the most. I said
you said Philadelphia.
I said Philly, yeah, but look at. Let the Eagles come to U.S. Bank and see how they perform here.
Ooh, that sounds like you're throwing down the gauntlet.
I just think it's a much different situation than going into that place. So it does make a difference.
I don't know. They won a world championship in that stadium.
Yeah, they sure did. I remember that game
there.
Quite well. Yeah. Remember whatever happened to Nick Foles? My God. Whatever happened to Tom Brady? He retired. So, yeah, I mean, it's and I want to give a little cautionary tale for the Vikings-Packers game. We'll find out on Sunday. There's a strong likelihood that game will be flexed at 3:30.
Which game?
The Vikings-Packer game.
No.
Yeah, it's not going to be a Sunday night game, but they could move it to 3:15, 3:30, whatever.
I'd call that America's game of the week.
Well, I can't imagine a more. I mean, and the schedule makers have done a wonderful job of matching up, divisional rivals near the end of the year.
If they lose to Green Bay at home, are you done with this club?
If they beat Seattle?
Yeah, if they beat Seattle but lose to the Packers, are you done with them?
No, I'm not done with this club no matter what happens. No, I mean, I don't.
You're a thick and thin guy. Thick and thin.
I am, but I also think that, this team is got a kind of a special bond about them and a feeling about them that we haven't seen and we haven't experienced with other playoff teams recently. And I don't know that the Vikings are the best team, but I think because of all the injuries in Detroit in particular, and I'm not discounting what Dan Campbell's capable of still offensively. They can still light up a scoreboard with that offensive line, and yeah, you're poo-pooing it. I don't know about that. I think they can still score at a pretty high rate.
What do we call him? Sonic and what? Knuckles is out.
Yeah,
Knuckles is out.
Well,
the offense won't be as good without Knuckles.
No, it won't be. Not consistently, because Gibbs is not a 25 carry a guy.
He might have to be. Because the two guys they have backing him up, I think, have combined 4 carries in their careers. There's nothing there in the
There's
backfield.
not much there. He's running out of bodies.
They're in some trouble.
They are, but and I mean, I feel for the, this is what we've talked about every single year. You say, well, let's get back to me in middle of December, end of December. We'll see what the health of these teams are. It's just such a huge part of it.
What did Bud Grant used to say? You know the quote, don't you? Isn't it something about availability is better than dependent?
Well, durability is more important than availability. Or it's
something
being durable is the most important aspect of a football player, and that's besides talent, obviously.
Now, here's somebody that's basically questioning you, Mark Rosen. This one says Vikings-Packers already solidified at noon.
Okay.
That's what he says. Now, I don't know.
Well,
Does he know
maybe
more
he's got
than you?
better sources
You're
than
the
me.
legendary one. I think you would know.
I think it still can be moved to 3.
It can be moved to 3.
Yes.
I don't know what he's...
Yeah, I don't want to see...
Because the NFL hasn't made...
They flexed the Sunday night game, but they can still make changes to the noon and 3 o'clock.
I'm not saying it's going to be moved to 7. It's not going to be moved to 7 o'clock, but it could be moved to 3. And the NFL is going to announce that after this week's game, and then after next week, they'll be doing the same thing for like the Vikings-Lions game, and then that night of the Vikings-Lions game, they will announce. They don't mess around. They'll announce the pairings and the times and who's playing whom and whatever for the playoffs right away, the wild card games anyway. So, yeah, I mean, look, I never thought I go back and think about, every time I drive out to TCO, I think about us doing our show out there in the middle of, end of July, early August, and having our fun out there, thinking I would never have imagined we'd be sitting here around Christmas time thinking the Vikings are 12-2 and they're where? They're what?
The best ability is availability.
Well,
that's what it is. That's what I'm going with.
He always used to
best
talk about
ability.
Bud used the word durability a lot, and he was acutely aware of it with the players he had during his, the hellacious days of Jim Marshall and Page and Eller and all those guys. They were available pretty much every week. Played through a lot of stuff.
This is what it will be. I can tell you what the playoff pairings are going to be right now.
You can.
I'm Nostradamus.
Well, you are. No one like you.
So, Philadelphia will have I think they'll get the number 1 seed.
You do?
Yeah, I think they're going to get the number 1 seed.
So you're saying the Vikings will lose one of these games?
I think there's a possibility.
Okay. Well, yeah, of course there's a possibility.
I think the number 2 seed will be, it'll be the Vikings will get the 2 seed, and that means they'll play 7, and 7 will be Washington. No, because Washington is going to get a wild card.
Yeah, they probably will. Mm-hmm. They play Philadelphia this week, right?
Lions are going to get the 5th seed, and they're going to have to play the Rams.
Oh, boy.
The Rams will be the 4th seed.
Another Goff and Stafford matchup. Huh?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be.
What about the Packers?
Packers will get they'll be the 6th seed.
Okay.
And that means they'll play the 2 seeds, so they will play the Vikings. It'll be Packers-Vikings.
No, 7 seed plays the 2 seed.
7 seed plays 2. So 6 plays 3. 3 will be
Tampa?
Or the Rams?
It'll be I think it'll be Tampa Bay. I think it'll be. Kirk Cousins benched.
Oh, boy.
Your thoughts?
Well, he's been horrible. He had 1 touchdown pass and 9 interceptions the last whatever. And last week, he kind of hit rock. No, I don't think he's calling the plays, but is it true that he didn't throw a pass or something in the first half? He just didn't complete a pass in the first half or throw a pass? I mean, he wasn't good here. And, I mean, maybe the old proverbial handwriting's on the wall when a 36-year-old quarterback's trying to come back from an Achilles injury because he hasn't looked sharp. He's had his games. He's had his moments. But I think that die was cast the day that the Falcons drafted Michael Penix in the first round and Cousins going, wait, what? You're paying me $100 million this year or whatever, next 2 years, and you're drafting a quarterback? Well, Atlanta's sitting there, a game behind Tampa Bay and still very much in the playoff hunt to try. They got to win their division. That's the only way they're going to get in. And they had to make the switch. They get the benefit of playing the New York Giants this week. So, you could have. Who beat the Vikings here in '98? Chandler. He could bring him
Chris
back
Chandler.
right now and probably beat the Giants. So Penix has an opportunity to look good. But yeah, for Cousins, what are they going to do? He's going to ask for, Atlanta owes him a ton of money.
Well, cut him and then pay him his money and move on with your life. That's all they can do.
And who's going to now take a shot at it? It's really come full circle for Kirko. So I'm sure. You can't be too stunned about it. He even admitted after the game on Sunday, I got to play a lot better. Well, he's not going to get the chance now, and it's not going to be a one-game thing. Obviously, Atlanta will win, I think, Sunday, and they're not going to change quarterbacks at this point to go back to Kirk.
This text message says, I work at U.S. Bank Stadium as a bartender. The staff's been told to prepare for the Vikings-Packers game to be moved
to 3.
Yeah. 25.
Yeah.
Your stuff.
My sources say that that could be a real possibility. Yes, and that's fine. It really should be America's game.
It's your source and it's your wife, so why wouldn't you know?
You're funny.
You know what else somebody said?
What's that?
What you lack is payability when it comes to when it comes to buying dinner over at Manny's. Payability. That's what you lack is.
They're still riding that dead horse.
They're still riding that dead horse.
I got nothing else.
Payability.
That's funny. Come with me sometimes. Oh,
that's so good.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
You think KOC wins Coach of the Year then? It's almost a slam dunk, isn't it?
Well, it's a slam dunk.
If the team collapsed here in the last 3 weeks, but
I think
who else is in the running?
Well, Campbell. But I would be. In the.
Is there anybody in the AFC?
I'm looking right now.
Buffalo's coach.
Yeah. I guess the
Tomlin always will get votes, but
the Washington coach.
I guess at Washington, because like the Buffalo coach, you could make that argument, but it's not. They've been really good. Yeah, they've always been kind of good for a while under him.
Yeah, Tomlin's always good.
It's like the Vikings were 7-10 last year, and now they've turned things around, and they're 12-2. And let's say they finish, 14-3 or 15-2. I don't see how it can't be Kevin O'Connell.
Kansas City.
That's not even a homer bit. That's what I think.
I think he deserves it. I really do. I know I'm impartial that way, but given the fact they were picked to win 6 games, and you got a guy that never really had any moments of glory at all in the NFL as your starting quarterback who's led them from start to finish here. Pretty remarkable. Even being in the conversation for MVP, even though he's not obviously going to win it. But they have Sam Darnold. And, I think Executive of the Year could go to Kwesi. His signings, what they did with the Kirk Cousins money and signing the 3 defensive players in particular with Cashman and Van Ginkel and Grenard, turned everything around for this defense.
That's a grand slam.
Yeah, it is a grand slam. So that puts Kwesi into that conversation about Executive of the Year in the NFL. And it's all based on the regular season, obviously. But yeah, I don't know why O'Connell, who I expect to get him to get his contract, and that's not a big surprise. He's going to get a contract extension any day now.
Does Kwesi get his then, as you say, or not?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen necessarily at the same time.
Ooh, do you think he'll get one though?
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. Okay. He loves it here. Obviously, the Wilf family loves him.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they are.
You're closer to it than I am.
They are
because remember,
locked in.
Going into this season, generally speaking, when you're going into the third year of a 4-year deal, that's when a team will either extend, and the Wilf said, "Nah, we'll pass on that for now." So obviously, there was still. Must have been some doubt, or maybe you're putting the cart before the horse. I don't know.
I don't know. I think
if they loved him so much, wouldn't they have signed him an extension right away or not?
Not necessarily. No, I don't. I think the way they communicate with them.
What if KOC says, "I'd rather wait a year and see what happens"? What if he turns the tables on?
It'd be crazy.
Why?
Because they're going to offer him a lot of money.
He could name his job right now.
Why would he want to leave?
I don't know.
He's got a growing family here, and he loves it here.
All right.
He is ensconced in this Twin City area.
Okay.
I will tell you that right now. He loves it.
You know the Pohlads aren't the owners of the Vikings, right?
Did Karn tell you that?
Karn doesn't.
Okay. Oh, I just had to wait. Sure.
Quit telling me about Karn. We talk about everything but.
All right.
So I get a kick out of telling her all these stories about you.
Do you think any other Vikings could possibly receive any postseason awards? I mean, I think everybody feels like the Allen guy's going to win the MVP. That's like a slam dunk. I don't think Barkley's going to anymore now. And I think they do have like offensive and defensive players of the year. I suppose Allen, if he did they have for each conference or is MVP for the entire league?
Well, if you have the MVP is player of the year, whatever. That's the
one
whole
guy.
team. Yeah, it's one guy. And I think
entire league.
And it's normally a quarterback.
Yeah,
Mahomes normally wins it.
There's never been a wide receiver named one before. There's only been a couple of running backs. Mark Mosley, a place kicker, got MVP one year.
Adrian Peterson won it, of course. Yeah. That's
I think I could be wrong, but I thought it was just two running backs. It was Adrian, and then Sanders split it with Favre in 95 or something.
Page, of course, was the first defensive player to ever win it.
And only two have won it.
Yeah.
The other would be, we just talked about it yesterday. Who was it, Tenneby? Alan Page, and who was the other defensive player that won the MVP? We just talked about it last week. You looked it up earlier.
Was it Lawrence Taylor?
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor. LT.
That makes sense.
LT.
So there's MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, which I think Darnold would have been a thought at some point, but they kind of changed the rules on that.
Right. It doesn't qualify for that.
And then, Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year, and then all the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Grenard should win a lot of,
should he win Defensive Player of the Year?
I don't know who else is up there. I mean,
I don't either. That's my thing.
Qualifies for first team, all pro, whatever it's going to be.
He should be in the mix.
Absolutely should be in the mix. I don't know if it's the writers/players who vote on that. I really don't know, because Grenard's not exactly a household name, especially in the NFC, but the impact he's made has been quite striking for this football team.
Yeah.
From day one.
And Rookie of the Year, we don't really know.
Reichard's probably our best rookie.
Oh, from our team.
Yeah, we're not going to have anyone.
No, they don't really.
That's all right.
That's the amazing thing, is the amount of improvement they made without getting really anything. Dallas Turner's sprinkled in a little bit, but it's not like they've just had this influx of draft talent that just led them to improvement.
No, they've so far so good. Again, we still have 3 games to go in postseason. We'll see where it leads, but right now it's looking like lovely day is what it's looking like right now with the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings.
Can't wait.
You'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock, right? And we'll do a little spread swing at 2:30.
Look forward to it.
Tenneby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit with you today, as we always do. Thanks for spending part of your time with us. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. No, that's right. It's Bob Motzko's show at noon. And then the Armstrong show, the crew coach, will be doing a show at Friday at 12 noon. No, we'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. Big Ticket JG. They are next right here on The Fan.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Minnesota. And good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
I'm a fraud.
Yes.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
The only thing better than the holidays are holidays packed with NFL games. Kicking off Thursday, December 19th with an AFC West showdown.
Touchdown, Chargers!
Then a Saturday doubleheader. 12 games Sunday with a battle in Lambeau on Monday night.
Oh, what a play! What a catch!
And a Christmas Day doubleheader for the ages on Netflix.
Oh, sweet Marie!
That's how the NFL does the holidays.
You wake up, put on your Ray-Ban Meta glasses. You're living all in. You realize you need coffee. So you say,
"Hey, Meta, how do I make a latte?"
Brew 2 shots of espresso.
After Meta AI gets you caffeinated, you're ready for some beats.
Hey, Meta, play hip-hop music.
You head to meet some friends, but can't remember the place.
Hey, Meta, call Eva.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses the next generation of AI glasses. Just say, hey, Meta, to harness the power of Meta AI. Shop now at meta.com/smartglasses.